This video is sponsored by Blizzard Entertainment. Oh yeah, waited years to be able to say that. Let's do this. Hello everyone. Alterac Pass, based on the Battleground Alterac Valley within World of Warcraft. That is going to be the new Battleground coming to the Nexus. And Blizzard, they were kind enough to ask me if I could make a video to explain the story behind Alterac Valley. This Battleground was one of the first to be added to the game, together with Warsong Gulch all the way back in 2005. And although the world around it has changed quite a bit, the story inside seems to be locked in time. That story takes us back around 33 years ago, where the Dark Portal opened up and the Horde invaded Azeroth for the first time. The orcs had been manipulated into a war against the Draenei, which led them down a very dark path of using fell magic, drinking demonic blood and corrupting their world. Most simply followed the words of the orc warlock Gul'dan and his puppet Warchi Blackhand, but some believed that what they were doing was not the right thing. Soft voices started to rise up, especially amongst the Frostwolf clan, led by War Chief Drek'thar together with mate Drek'thar. Now they couldn't outright go against the leaders though, they had to consider the safety of their clan, so despite knowing deep down that this wasn't right, they still joined the Horde through the Dark Portal and fought with them against the humans.
For the Horde!
Their destiny would not be to remain with the Horde though, as Gul'dan had quite enough of them and he wanted them gone. Just killing them would make them a martyr amongst their people, giving more weight to the warnings about Gul'dan, so exile was the way to go. He promised them that if they ever returned, if they ever contacted any member of the Horde, he would destroy every Frostwolf male, female and child. With Drek'thar pregnant, the Horde did not dare to risk their safety, so the Frostwolves, they packed up their things and they struck out north, through a land that was not their own, the path ahead unfamiliar. They did have one small advantage, as Azeroth was home to strong elemental spirits. Like so many others, Drek'thar, the blind elder shaman of the clan, he too had accepted Gul'dan's gift of fell magic when it was offered, but discovering these native spirits in Azeroth, it shook the shaman to its core. It reminded him of the heritage they had abandoned on Draenor. He renounced his use of fell magic and embraced the path of shamanism once more. The element responded and blessed the Frostwolf with a small gift. They showed them the path to remote frostline mountains known as the Alterac Mountains. Far to the north, it was a climate that was very similar to the old home of Frostfire Ridge. Far away from human and Horde eyes, the Frostwolves made their home. But when Drek'thar and Drek'thar's child was born, they started to rethink their choices and the future of their race. Go well. Or as most of you know him, Thrall. He was also born with green skin, meaning that the corruption of their race, it was now being passed on to their future generations. They could not let Gul'dan get away with this, could not stand by and do nothing about the dark forces controlling the Horde, no matter the consequences. Drek'thar, Drek'thar and their child, they left and told the Frostwolves to remain in the mountains and carve out a new life, while they went back to the Horde to reveal the truth. It would be here, where Drek'thar and the Frostwolves would remain, while Drek'thar and Drek'thar, they told their longtime friend Orgrim Doomhammer of all that they knew. Unfortunately, they were found out and slaughtered by Gul'dan's followers. Their baby was found by the human Daedalus Blackmoor, and although his instinct told him to murder the creature, he took him in and gave him the name Thrall, or slave. Orgrim would rise up and take leadership of the Horde. He tried to cleanse it of its corruption, but he foolishly kept Gul'dan around, which would then lead to their defeat against the alliance of Lordaeron. The orcs that surrendered, they were placed within internment camps. Like Durnhold, the one in which Thrall grew up, he grew up as a slave gladiator. He would break free from his bonds and then go search for his people. A journey that would eventually lead him to the clan of his parents, the Frostwolves still living within Alterac. Over time, Drek'thar had strengthened his bond with the elements, powers that he used to keep his people safe, and it would be he who would show Thrall the way of the shaman, the first new orcish shaman ever since they took up the Fel. Thrall would also meet Orgrim, who had escaped from an internment camp as well, and Gromar's Hellscream, the war chief of the Warsong clan that had avoided capture altogether. They set out to liberate their people from the internment camps and reform the Horde. Orgrim would give his life for this quest, passing on the title of war chief to Thrall. Eventually, they would decide to settle within Orgrimmar, but the Frostwolves, they decided to remain in the valley that had been their home for so many years. Drek'thar did help Thrall with his missions, but would eventually return home to continue leading his clan. Now their peaceful existence within the Alterac Mountains, that would soon be challenged by the arrival of the Dwarven Stormpike expedition. Led by the dwarf general Vendar Stormpike, they quickly set up base within their stronghold of Dun Bodar, on the mission of mining and exploring caves for relics, artifacts and resources, to find out more about the history of their people. The dwarves and orcs, Naturally, they ended up in conflict with each other, but opinions are a little bit divided on who struck first. Both sides have their own version of the story, with the Alliance claiming that the Stormpike expedition, they arrived as a peaceful visitors to the area in search of ore and relics. It was the Frostwolves who reacted with the most brutal and uncivilized act of aggression that the Alliance has experienced, and they want vengeance for the slaughtered dwarves. Meanwhile, on the Horde side, we're told that no matter what we might have heard about the battle raging in Alterac Valley, one thing remains true. It was the Stormpike expedition that invaded Frostwolf territory. It was they who were the hostile ones. The day that we allow the Alliance to invade Horde lands without a forceful response, that is the day that we should hang up our axes and live out the rest of our lives with shame. Two sides with two different stories, but who cares really when there's a reason to fight each other? Both the Alliance and the Horde decide to send their full support to the Stormpikes and the Frostwolves, and with that, the Battle of Alterac Valley is on.
Charge! Break their bones.
This Battleground is kinda crazy, considering it's 40 versus 40, and it offers a whole lot of different objectives all rolled into one. It's more a zone and home to kobolds, harpies, gnolls, in the past even the Wintrax trolls with their chieftain Korak the Blood Rager. He started out within the Field of Strife, was then moved to the Snowfall Graveyard, but has since decided to leave the area behind, and now fights within Northrend's Ring of Blood. There are more graveyards to be captured, there are bunkers to be Rutlow, towers to overtake, mines to infiltrate. If you're not that great at fighting, you can even go out and focus on bringing back animals, animal hides, or resources. Resources taken from the corpse of your enemy. Over the years, I've seen entire parties just fish away in the valley. The Battleground is absolutely massive, and not only offers a fighting experience, there's a whole bunch of quests that you can complete. In the past, battle could take several hours to complete. You could log off in the evening and log back into the same fight the very next morning, still seeing the Alliance and Horde push each other back and forth. But in 2007, they decided to make some significant changes to prevent that. Now we see a reinforcement counter at the top of the screen, which starts at 600. And killing a player, taking a tower, or killing the captain, that all counts towards reducing the reinforcements, until it eventually hits 0 and you have won. Killing the general, that will instantly grant you a victory, which is why you often see the blitz tactic applied, in which it basically becomes a rush to the finish. Who can kill the enemy general first? But just for the moment, let's get nostalgic. These longer battles, they gave you enough time to collect and turn in the resources which you looted from the enemy, which not only gave you reputation, it also provided support to the battlefield. Now don't get me wrong, you can still do these quests, it's just that the Battleground is going to be over before you even close to finishing. So what are these quests? Well, for example, you can go out and collect Alterac Rams or Frostwolves, as well as their hides to get a cavalry assault going, elite NPCs that you can send out, and while mounted, will support your troops. A similar thing can be done with the supplies gathered from the Iron Deep or Cold Tooth mine. Claim the mine, gather supplies, and send out a ground assault, similar to the cavalry, except without the mounts. Do you feel like your troops in the field are a little bit too squishy? Well, why not just upgrade them by turning in armor scraps? The smith will use them, first turning your units into seasoned units, then they're going to be veterans, and then champions, which increases their health and damage done. There are also the Top Gun wing commanders that you can use for an aerial assault, but before that's even possible, they'll first need to be rescued and escorted back to base. Once there, they'll welcome any Frostwolf soldier medals or Stormpike soldier's flesh until they have enough and are ready to be sent out. A beacon will tell them when it's time to go. Slidor, Vipor and Itchman for the Alliance, Gus, Jester and Malverick for the Horde. Of course, you could also go for the big guns and try to get a raid tier level boss onto the field to keep your enemies nice and busy. For the Alliance, you collect storm crystals, elemental charms carried by the Frostwolf troops, which you then hand over to Archdruid Renferral and her crew. With enough storm crystals, they can begin the ritual, follow them to the summoning location and help with the summon. If enough players work together and succeed in the mission, you'll gain the aid of Ivus the Forest Lord, or on the Horde side, you'll do pretty much the same with Primalist Torloga, only here you turn in Stormpike Soldier's Blood and you gain the aid of Lakhaller the Ice Lord. Now the cool part about him is that he would start off weaker than Ivus, but with each enemy that he killed, each soul that was claimed, he would gain more power. So if you have a couple of Alliance players that didn't know how to deal with him, it could quickly ramp up. Entering this Battleground, it gives you a whole lot of options on what you want to do, but usually you'll end up following the path. You take the towers and bunkers as you go. Claiming them reduces the enemy reinforcements, while specific bunkers and towers, they're also connected to the marshals and war masters that stand with Vendor Stormpike or Drek'thar. Without their building, they'll disappear from the battlefield, which reduces the buff that they give to the general, as well as have you fight one less ad. It's a tactical choice of do you want to wait for the towers to burn down, or do you take the stronger hits to the face and get it done as quickly as you can. The taking of graveyards is also a very tactical choice, as it decides where you and the enemy is going to respawn. Depending on where you are in the game, some would really get pissed at you if you took the wrong graveyard and messed up the spawn point. In the middle, near the Field of Strife, we'll find two captains on the battlefield, Belinda Stonehearth and Galvanjar, which hang out in the bunkers of Stonehearth Outpost and Iceblood Garrison. They'll shout out a battle cry, inspiring the forces and giving them a 20% health buff, but they can be challenged and taken out by the enemy, preventing them from doing so.
Attack!
The choice is yours. You can slowly bleed the enemy dry by forcing them to run out of reinforcements before you do. Or, once your team is ready, you can challenge the enemy's leader with whatever number of generals they have left. Kill them and claim victory. Whereas Vendar will eventually be left alone, Drek'thar will always have his wolf companions at his sides, Duros and Drakan, most likely named after Durathen and Draka. Like I mentioned, Alterac Valley is a little bit stuck in time when it comes to the story. The world outside has moved on, with some of the heroes of Alterac doing the same and leaving the valley behind. As soon as the Dark Portal reopened with the Burning Crusade, Wing Commander Itchman and Malverick, they stepped through it and they journeyed to Outland. 3 years they spent fighting the war, or 3 years as a prisoner of the Frostwolf clan, listening to them endlessly whining about how unfair the bridge to Dumbledore is, or complaints on the Alliance taking the Frostwolf relief hut. That's actually a reference to the unbalance that Alterac Valley had to deal with for many years. More often than not, it favored the Alliance, considering the map layouts, the bridge with the archers raining death from above, the Horde's base graveyard being easily captured by those that knew how to jump the gates. Quite a few changes have been made to the Battleground over the years to try and balance it out, but here in Outland, amongst the Dragonmaw clan, these two riders are now competing to be the top gun, but we show them who truly rule the skies. Primalist Torologa has not played a part in the story quite yet, but her counterparts, Ellaref and Thrall, definitely did. In the novel Stormrage, which takes place just a little bit before the Cataclysm, we find out that during the war in the valley, she had sought to save the flora and fauna. Amidst the carnage, she had been unsuccessful. After the war, she had sworn to restore the valley, yet several years later, she was still trying. That means that the war in Alterac Valley is actually already over, but I don't think we were given a clear winner. Either way, Ren Farrell would keep on fighting for the sake of nature, but she was murdered by the Twilight's Hammer cult, and in Legion we discovered that her spirit went to the Emerald Dream. There it got turned and twisted by Xavius the Nightmare Lord, until nothing remained of her former self, and we were forced to put down the corrupted druid.
Do you remember murdering me?
Vander Stormpike and Captain Belinda, they would not travel that far from Alterac. We found them again at the ruins of Southshore, making plans to unite the Stormpike with Ivor Bloodfang and his Bloodfang Worgen, to once again take back Hillsbred from the Forsaken and the Horde. Only because of the heroic sacrifice of Kingslayer Orcus is the Horde informed of this attack. He will live on in song, but we're sent out to Alterac Valley to enlist the aid of the Frostwolf clan. Surely they'd be more than willing to help us battle the Stormpike dwarves. Like our flyers, Drek'thar has left Alterac Valley as soon as the Burning Crusade. He traveled to Outland as well to revisit the land of their people. He has aged quite a bit, up to the point where he was deemed too old and weak to serve in the Battle of Alterac Valley. Not only by the long years of fighting, but also his prophetic dreams that take their toll. Nightmares assaulted him, and sometimes made him wish that he was as blind in his dreams as he was in life. He foresaw the coming of the Cataclysm, but his sharp mind had begun to wander, and his caretaker no longer believed his words to be true. That would prove to be a big mistake, and now here we find him in Alterac after the Cataclysm has taken place, being taken care of by Captain Galvanjar. Seeing them here would suggest that the Frostwolves have won the Battle of Alterac, or at least were not forced to give up their home. We do know that after the fall of the Lich King, the Alliance and Horde, they got together to sign a peace treaty. Part of that treaty was ending all hostilities, including the struggles at Alterac Valley, if only for a brief time. Now the Horde has need of the Frostwolves, but Drek'thar, he has done and seen many terrible things in his lifetime, things that still keep him awake at night. Yet nothing could ever be as terrible as lending aid to the Forsaken, who feel no remorse. They ravage the land and destroy everything they touch. The Frostwolf clan will not aid the Forsaken. Not now, not ever. How times can change, so the Frostwolves, they forsake the Horde, something that they won't forget. On a Legion, Drek'thar can sometimes show up in a Shaman or the Hall, where both he and Vander Stormpike congratulate their player on their PvP achievements.
For the Horde!
For the Alliance!
So how's all of this going to translate to Heroes of the Storm? Well, it takes us back in time to the glory days of Alterac Valley, where the Alliance and Horde are going at it. The core is now your general. Either Drek'thar or Vander, they're going to be the object to be destroyed, and these guys don't exactly sit still. They'll actively fight back against any who try to bring them down. With a charge and a whirlwind, these are not cores you want to engage by yourself. Similar to how there's always that one guy that pulls the generals out of the keep and resets the fight. These generals will also regenerate their health while out of combat. Instead of marshals or war masters that you could remove from the battlefield by taking their buildings, the generals now come with 60 additional armor. For every keep that you destroy, they lose 20 armor points, meaning that once again you have to make the tactical decision between going fast or slow and steady. Every so often, a prisoner is going to spawn on the battlefield that you either need to set free or make sure that they stay in their cage. It's a bit of a mix between escorting the Wind Riders, summoning the raid boss, and handing over enough resources to get a cavalry assault going, since if you are able to set the prisoner free, the cavalry units will start charging down the lanes. They're not greatly powerful on their own, but they do provide a buffing aura, so you want to rally with them, support their charge, and do as much damage with them as you can. All siege camps and ice giant bosses, they're waiting to be conquered and turned to your side. I think this is more of a heroes thing, although you could say that the ice giant is somewhat of a combo between Ivers and Lockholler, but that might be a bit of a stretch. When you destroy an enemy keep, you'll start spawning melee Reaver minions instead of the regular catapults. These Reavers will lead your minions into combat, and considering that the core now fights back, they're really useful for taking the brunt of their attacks. The design of this map, it just screams Warcraft 3 to me, and I would kill to see like a Warcraft 3 remake or even a Warcraft 4 with these models and buildings. That would be so good. New sprays and skins, they're added as well, giving you a chance to play as Drek'thar, Vendar, and a whole bunch of properly dressed heroes, as well as a brand new one, Yrel, who joins the battle.
Together.
Funny enough, I actually started her story before knowing that she was coming to Heroes of the Storm. Lucky coincidence right there. And to celebrate the first Warcraft map coming to the Nexus, there are going to be quests with rewards waiting for you. You will have to choose your side, Alliance or the Horde, and earn yourself a new Warcraft hero, a faction portrait, a faction banner, and a faction mount. On the Horde side, it's an Orgrimmar banner and a Frostwolf. For the Alliance, it's a Lordaeron banner and a Stormpike ram. The Raven Lord has shown interest in the Battle of Alterac Pass, and now you're up to speed with the story behind it and what role it played within the story of Warcraft. Now, champions, only one choice remains.
Will you join the Alliance in an effort to control this new realm? Or will you side with the Horde, just like every other barbarous, unkempt brute? We'll see you in the Nexus. For the Alliance!
For the Horde!
As always, thank you very much for watching, everyone. And of course, a big thank you to Blizzard as well for inviting me to this project. For more details on the new Battleground opening up in Heroes of the Storm, as well as YRL joining the Nexus, check out the link in the description. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, guys, see ya!